And good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level and create the life we've always wanted. We are living limitless lives. And here I am into another fast. And we are now ending our first day. So 24 hours we've been going and getting into the second day. So for those of you who are out there, normally we do our fast starting today at I just finished my meeting with my team, and so we normally start our fast today, but we started it a little early this week. We started actually 24 hours early because there are some scheduling changes that are going on with me and my family over the course of the rest of this week. And so, because I wanted to get my fast in for the week, I started a day early, and we are going now into the second day, the middle part of our fast. So glad that you're here, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for coming through. See Cornelia out there. Cornelia saying hi. Dr. Wood, hey Cornelia, glad that you are here. Thank you for popping in and hanging out with us. For those of you who are ending the fast today, kudos to you, congratulations. Balloons and streamers and noisemakers and all of those things. Congratulations. I'm glad that you are doing this with us, that you are taking charge of your health, taking charge of your life. And hello, Pamela. Pam says hello to everybody. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us again. If you are with us, this is the end of your 24-hour period. You fasted during the course of the first day. Hats off to you. Congratulations for making that decision. For those of you who are fasting starting today, right? This is the start of your fasting process for this week. I'm glad that you are here also, and kudos to you. Congratulations for making that decision to take charge of your health. And then, of course, those of you who are starting your fast tomorrow into the last day, then we're excited for that as well. As I said, for those of you who were here yesterday, this week, if you're fasting, right? So we're not going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and T. If you're fasting this week, whether you're doing a day one fast, 24 hours, second day, third day, if you're doing the total fast, or if you're doing an intermittent fasting, I want you to put a yes in the comments. If you are fasting in any form, shape, or fashion this week, go ahead and put that in the comments. And Cornelia saying hi to Pam. Great community that we are a part of here. So thank you all for coming through. And if you did not see yesterday what I used to start my fast, right? So I ate my last meal yesterday. Go back and watch that episode from yesterday. Just called Dwain Woode MD Pop-Up Live, and you'll see it there as well. For those of you who are ending the fast today, what did you eat as your first meal? Right? Go ahead and pop that in the comments in the chat so that we can celebrate that with you. If you are with us, you heard me say before, I would love for you to send in anything that you would like me to eat that would, for my first meal. Usually my last meal is something that I eat that comes in from whatever we have for lunch. I usually construct a meal from that. Yesterday I did my default meal, right? Because I decided while I was here that morning that I was going to start fasting yesterday. Didn't bring anything from home, and so I had my default meal. So go back and see what that is. And then I saw some of you yesterday put in, I think Julian and Cornelia put in what your default meals were. Thank you for that. So if you have something that you want me to eat to end the fast, or I'm breaking the fast with, go ahead and drop that in the comments. So of course you can send it to info@dwainwoodemd.com, or you can just drop it in the DM to me on any of the social platforms. Dwain Woode MD is my name, my handle. You can reach me there in any of the social platforms. So those of you who are here, whether you're on Instagram, not Instagram, but LinkedIn or Twitch or Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, thank you for coming through and continuing to do my shout out for those of you who are joining us. You've seen our content in other spaces, right? We're doing our Limitless Living Health series right now, and we are in Atlanta, we're in Nashville, Mississippi, of course, here in Alabama. If you're joining us because you saw us on one of those platforms, welcome to the family, welcome to the community. Thank you for hanging out with us. So you are probably asking, why are we doing what we're doing? And I always start out by talking about metabolism, which is the way the body converts our food into energy. That is the process. That's what it's called, the metabolic process. It has to do with the food you eat, the nutrients, the things you drink, and all of those have to do with what the body is doing because the body needs energy. And dysfunctional metabolism sets the tone for lots of our chronic illnesses that we talk about. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, obesity, and on and on and on. When we go back, if we go back in history years ago, and when I say years ago, not too long distant, really. The last 60, 70, 80 years, people became ill and people had mortality because of either they got an infection or they had an injury. And so that was the reason why people met their demise, why people were continually sick. But fast forward now into our modern era, and what we find is that the things that are causing the most problem for people has to do with metabolism. It has to do with our lifestyle. It has to do with the foods that we eat and the activity that we have or lack of activity, and the sleep that we're getting or not sleep, and the stress and so forth. And all of that really ties into the things that we see in the metabolic space. So dysfunctional metabolism, anything that interrupts that process ultimately leads downstream to the diseases that we know of as we talk about when you go to visit your doctor, right? So they tell me that a majority of people have 1 to 2 diseases, 1 to 2 chronic illnesses, and that is a tremendous number. Going back to my initial thought about dysfunctional metabolism in terms of diabetes and pre-diabetes, we're talking about over a billion people on the planet that suffer from that. And so we are in the process, we are in the space to say, hey, we can make a difference. We can have changes, and if we're going to have change, how do we do that successfully? What are the mechanisms? What are the tools that we need to develop so that we can get that? And so our Limitless Living Health Action Plan is the process that we're walking through. It is the blueprint that says, if I follow this, right, if I look at this picture, if I follow what's going on here and I implement them, I'm going to end up over here with a picture that looks just like that. So if I follow the blueprint, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, if I follow the blueprint, the health that I see is what I'm going to end up with over here. It's also it's a checklist that says, hey, if I go through this checklist, my chances of success increase. Kind of like get on the airplane, right? You want your pilot to have gone through the checklist, not just to rush in and grab the yoke and take off. You're gonna, okay, did you go through all the things that are required to make sure that we reach our destination? It also is a set of boundaries or guardrails, if you will. And so that helps us to know when we're off course. If we bump into a guardrail, we know that we're off course. And then finally, the one that came up last week, as we were actually talking, we made that connection right here. It is a set of safety guidelines that they keep us safe. But kind of like when you're going up and down the stairs, you've got the rails, or you're even on your deck. The rails are there. They're not there for confinement. They're there actually to protect. And so here, as we are in this space, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan serves all those purposes. And a part of that is fasting. And so we're using a component in this space. Now, we've got several of the plan pillars that are implemented on our channel. We do the 100-day walk to consistency. Go back and watch that series. We're doing the strength, strategy, and mindset. We're doing that here. Here, of course, we're doing the fasting. How do we fast successfully? That's here. All of those are tools that we are using that are components or pillars within the health action plan to say, how do we create the space so that our metabolism is better? Okay? And so we want to make sure that you're doing that. And so how do we fast successfully? And that's where we are. So we started our fast yesterday, and I do a fast once a week. And fasting does three major things in terms of diabetes and ultimately metabolic disease. One, it decreases insulin. Number two, it suppresses the appetite. Number three, it reduces sugar. So let's walk through that process together. So insulin is the culprit. Insulin is the thing. It is the driving force behind the dysfunctional metabolism. Whatever may have caused an issue, it is the fact that it results in hyperinsulinemia. That is too much insulin that's being produced in the body, or too much insulin that we have to take when we take medication. And because we have this elevated insulin, that elevated insulin causes downstream problems. I was sharing this in the office actually today as I was seeing a patient, it is kind of like having a car. Right? I used to live up north. And so you come out in the morning and you try to start the car up, and the car wouldn't start, right? You get that sound, right? And so it wouldn't start, and you'd hit the gas a couple of times, boom, boom, and the car would start, boom. Well, what happens if you hit the gas one too many times? Well, you flood the carburetor. And so even though there is gas in the car, even though the battery's working, even though there's nothing else wrong with the engine, the car would not start because you put too much gas in the carburetor. And it's the same thing here. Insulin has a very vital function in the body. It is designed to keep our blood sugars regulated. Remember, we talked about homeostasis. If you've not seen our show from last night on Dwain Woode MD Live, go back and watch that. Homeostasis is the body's desire to get back to the same. It wants to maintain the same level of things, right? Whether it's your blood sugar, your potassium, your cholesterol, your calcium, all of those things happen because the body wants to maintain sameness. And so insulin is designed to do that. It does its job. It is when there is an abnormal amount of insulin that we run into trouble. Either abnormal because we have to take medication that produces insulin, or we have to take insulin from outside, or that our bodies have to make insulin to manage the blood sugar that ends up coming from the food that we eat. Because of that hyperinsulinemia, we have lots of downstream issues that come up. So if we can decrease insulin in the body, remember that was the first pillar. If we decrease the insulin, then what we're doing is we're avoiding, we're delaying, we're reversing all of those downstream problems that show up when we have elevated insulin. So number one pillar, decreasing insulin. Number two is suppressing the appetite. Now, this is an interesting one because insulin stimulates the appetite. And if we're decreasing insulin, by virtue of that, what we're doing is we're helping to suppress the appetite. Now, with the appetite, this is an interesting conversation because the appetite is what drives the next pillar that we're going to talk about. The appetite is what drives us to eat things that are at such a rate that we now require high insulin to fix it. The appetite. Now, and let me couch this in a thought. There are a lot of things that we eat that are ultimately producing high sugar levels, right? Glucose levels in our body. If we eat those things, then the body has to produce insulin because remember, it wants to get back to a homeostasis. And once again, we're talking about type 2 diabetics. It wants to get back to a normal blood sugar. So if we eat something, either we have to take enough insulin, take enough medications, or the body now has to produce insulin to fix that problem. And so when we are eating, if we're eating in a way that's consistent with maintaining euglycemia, which is what the term is called, normal blood sugars, then our body doesn't have to produce as much insulin. But it is the appetite that pushes us to eat things that are not necessarily keeping with our all we need to do is get energy, right? So there are things that we eat, cookies, candies, cakes, pasta, well, not pasta, cookies, candies, cake, ice cream, and so on and so forth, that are simply things that are feeding a desire, an appetite, right? We like how it tastes. We remember what it tastes like, or it gives me comfort. And so if we can suppress the appetite, pillar number 2, then we are setting ourselves up for improved metabolism, because when the appetite is suppressed, then it doesn't drive us, it doesn't push us in the direction of getting those things that that would cause the blood sugar to go up and ultimately cause a spike in our insulin. Okay, so here we are. We're suppressing the insulin, and so or decreasing the insulin. The decreased insulin helps with our metabolism. Because we've decreased the insulin, it suppresses our appetite, right? And so that helps with our metabolism. When we suppress the appetite helps with the amount of insulin that we've got to take. So that's suppressing the appetite or increasing our metabolism. And then finally, reducing sugar. Of the things that we eat, of the things that we take into our body that causes problems in our metabolism, sugar, whether it's raw sugar or sugar in any of its forms, or sugar that's hidden in carbs. Right, so when I say sugar, I'm including all of those in the process. Anything that would cause a response from insulin, that is a part of dysfunctional metabolism. Right, so decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, reducing sugar. The 3 pillars that reverse diabetes. And here's the beauty about this. You want to hear it? The beauty about this is that it doesn't just fix diabetes. Because remember, diabetes, if we think about a spectrum, right? So things along a spectrum, diabetes is the ultimate expression of dysfunctional metabolism. So there are things, right? Pre-diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? So we've got all these diseases along the spectrum, but the ultimate expression of that is diabetes. And so if we can fix that, if we can reverse that, if we can improve that, because we're working on improving our metabolism, then all of the precursors, if you will, or all the things along the spectrum also get better. So it's not just that we're fixing this if you're diabetic. We are improving our metabolism across the board. And when we do that, then we are setting ourselves up for the best possibility of health success. So fasting hits all of the pillars. So you're saying, oh, well, how does that relate to fast? Fasting hits all the pillars. Because if we fast, we're not taking food in, we're decreasing sugar. If we're decreasing sugar, then we're not having spikes in insulin. If we're not having spikes in insulin, the insulin doesn't stimulate the appetite, and those are our 3 pillars. Decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, reduce sugar. And fasting is a tool. It is a tool. Remember when I started, I said that we're talking about the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. It is a plan. It takes action. And there are 7 pillars. And one of the pillars is fasting. It is not the only pillar. It is not the ultimate pillar. It is not the best pillar. It is not the end-all be-all pillar. It is a pillar. It is a tool. And we are using that tool in this space. And so fasting has become this thing that everybody talks about for various reasons. Like people have been fasting for years. People have been fasting for centuries. And they've been fasting for lots of reasons, but fasting has taken on this powerful position in metabolism and how we improve our health. And so we want to know, how do we fast successfully? And so we do a fast once a week. We encourage everybody, unless there's a compelling reason why you can't fast, everyone should be able to work their way up to fasting once a week for at least a 24-hour period. That doesn't mean that we don't go further. At least 24-hour period. And here we provide that space so that you can begin to do that. It is a check-in. You see what I eat, my last meal before I get into the fast. And here I am as I walk through each of the days. And I do a 72-hour fast once a week. right? So we're saying to people, hey, at least a 24-hour period you can do. And then, of course, if you need additional benefits, then longer fast may be beneficial for you as well. 72 hours fast, and we walk through as we start our flagship show on Mondays, 7 p.m. Central, on Dwain Woode MD Live. And then we do our fasting pop-up here. We do our fasting check-ins, which we'll do. The first official one will be tomorrow night for this week. I'll come back tomorrow as we do our check-in here again, and then we'll continue through the week as we talk about how we do that. This week we've been talking about the installation of this new version of ourselves into our routine. So you can have a desire, you can have vision, you can have motivation, you can even have a plan, but if you don't have a system, then the plan falls apart. Just this morning, I was talking to someone, and I was asking them, why do you think your blood sugar is up? And they said, well, I'm not sure. Okay, and I'm not sure meant really was that they thought they had done something wrong. And so, well, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I don't want to get into it. But one of the points that I wanted to make, and I'll make it to you here, is that often it is not that we don't have the drive or the desire or the vision. It's not that. Is that we are not putting a system in place. Think about your job, or think about your education. Think about anything else that you do in your life. You have a plan for it. If you're going on a trip, you got a plan for the trip. If you're trying to save money, you've got a plan for saving money. If you're trying to get a degree, you've got a plan for the degree. But when it comes to our health, it is the thing that, okay, when I'm done with my time, whatever's left is when I'm going to give to my health. And that cannot be the case. The health has to be something that's built into everything else that we do. Otherwise, it gets the very last. When you're dog tired, when you have absolutely no more energy, when you've done everything for the day and you are ready to just pass out, then you think, oh, I need to exercise, or I need to eat better. I need to think about this. And at that point, your brain is like, no, we're not doing any of that. And let's go to sleep. And that gets delayed and delayed and delayed. So it cannot be what gets the last of you. It has to be actually what gets the first of you. When we did when we were working through our 100-day walk to consistency and health, one of the points that I made is as you're going through your day, as you're constructing your day, as you're constructing your schedule, you want to put those things that require the best of you first. All right, the things that you have to do in your day that requires your mental energy, requires the most energy, those are the things you want to do at the time when you're full of energy and you're at your best. And then the other things that don't require as much, then you can put those at other times. And the same thing here. If you want to make sure that you are in the best position of being successful when it comes to your health, then the health has to be directly incorporated into your routine. Otherwise, it just gets the last of you. So how do we install this new version of ourselves? It's kind of like having, and hey, Bowie, how are you? We put you up there saying hello. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. It's kind of like our, I gave the analogy of a computer. You buy a computer, and the computer actually already has a system that's built into it. It has an operating system in it. And we come with an operating system already. We already have a system in us. And the default system is what takes place if we are not installing anything new. And the default is what we've been doing all the time. The default is what we've generated. The default is what we've cultivated in our entire life so far. And we no longer actually want the default. We want to create, we want to install a system that works in our favor and works for the best of what we need. And that is the space that we're in right now. As we move through the rest of this week, as we get into next week, we'll come back, we'll talk more. One of the things I want to begin plugging is the Limitless Living Accelerator. And this is the system that we have put together to say, hey, if you are tired of starting over, if you're tired of the same, if you are tired of getting motivated and then you hit the ground running and then things kind of fall apart. If you're tired of saying, man, or tired of not trusting yourself, where your brain said, well, we tried this thing or we tried that thing and nothing ever works for us. And you're looking in the mirror, you're like, man, what can I do to lose this weight? You went to your doctor and the doctor says your A1C is high, your blood sugar is high, you're having numbness, tingling, burning in your hands, toes, fingers, and feet, you're having vision issues. You went to your doctor and they say, hey, your kidneys are now starting to have issues. You've had a heart attack, you've had a stroke, you have peripheral artery disease, you're having problems moving around because you are struggling with weight. All of that is a function of metabolism. And it does not get better until you have a system in place that will take you in that direction and help you to maintain what you need to do. So keep an eye out. We started talking about installing this new system in our bodies, into our routine in our show last night. Dwain Woode MD Live, go back and watch that. We're coming back next week and talking more about that and introducing our linear accelerator. So make sure that you join us. Hey. If you're fasting this week, go ahead and put a yes in the comments. And so here's a comment from Pam saying hi to Bowie. Go ahead and put yes in the comments because we want you working along with us. This is an amazing process of being successful. It is a plan. It is a blueprint. It is guardrails. It's a checklist. It's a set of safety devices that help you be the best that you can be. And after all, that is what our limitless living is all about. It's not about finding something and then dabbling with it for a little while and then giving up on that and then trying something new. It's about how do we in this body create a space in our minds, in our behavior, in our attitude, in our routine, in our eating, in our sleeping. How do we create a system that takes us into success that's not just about 90 days, that's not just about 2 weeks or 1 week or 3 weeks or the beginning of the year, but that is the tone of our lives. Remember, rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm said, what is the bent? What am I all about? What is my driving force? What is my why? What's my North Star statement? That's rhythm. And are the things I'm doing, are they aligned to take me in that direction? And then, do I have something in place? Do I have the structure in place that's going to help me do this long term? Not just for a day, not just for a week, not just for a month, not even just for a year, but I'm looking at the long game. And the long game says that when I am 60, 70, 80 years old, I want to be as healthy as possible then as I can. And if I do that now, if I implement it now, then I have the best possibility of getting there. Remember, that's the blueprint. If I follow the blueprint, then I end up down the road with what the picture says I'm supposed to have. And that's the Limitless Living Health Action Plan and the accelerator that we're going to be talking about. So make sure you join us. And Bowie says that she says yes. So fasting this week. So whatever fast that you're doing, whether you're doing an intermittent fasting, 24-hour fasting, 72-hour, 48, whatever it is, go ahead and put yes in the comments. And if you ended your fast today, 24 hours, kudos to you. Go ahead and drop in the chat, in the comments, what you ate as your first meal, what did you use to break the fast. If you're joining me starting today, this is going to be your day. Come on, let's do it. All right. We are proud of you, and we're excited that you're here. And then, of course, if you're starting your fast tomorrow, then go ahead and get ready for that. Get your last meal ready. Plan for what you're going to do. We're going to be doing our complete review of fasting coming up later this week. We're off schedule a little bit, but we'll let you know what that schedule is going to be as we move through the different spaces. Okay? And once again, to welcome to everybody, wherever you're joining us from, whatever space you're in. On the channel, there are I was going to say plethora, but I'm not going to use that word. There's a lot of stuff that's on the channel that helps to step you through what you need to do to be successful. We've got a 100-day walk to consistency and health. We've got our strength training, strength strategy and mindset. We've got our fasting check-ins that we do. We've got our Monday night flagship show, Dwain Woode MD Live. We've got the check-ins that we do in the evenings that are talking and teaching. We've got our full review. We've got video from the vault that comes on Saturday night. We've got This Week in Review that comes on Sunday morning. I was checking the other day, and we have something that is on the channel every single day of the week. Let me say that again. There is something that's playing on the channel. I'm not talking about old content. This is new content. Something that's playing every single day of the week. And so there is ample time, ample space for you to be there. And the reason for that, let me explain some of that. When we were doing the 100-day walk to consistency, I kind of walked through this process. I remember getting into whatever spaces, right? So remember, I struggled with weight. I struggled with blood pressure, struggled with blood sugars, struggled with sleep apnea. And I remember trying something and trying this thing and trying this thing. And then, we would go through the process, and then the 30 days would be over. The 45 days would be over. The 90 days would be over. And so in my mind, the question was, what do I do now? Now, remember, I'm an endocrinologist. And so I'm supposed to know what to do. But what do I do now that the thing is over? And so part of what you see as we walk through the channel is I want to provide a space for every single day so that you know that at any time you can take time to prioritize yourself. Let me say that again. And that's not to say that you need to watch every single video that we want you to. But I want you, as we're walking through the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, what is your structure? What is the plan for your day? What's the plan for your life? And all the things that we do are with the intention of providing a time that you can incorporate into your schedule, into your calendar, so that you say, okay, I am doing something for myself at this time. So every day in the week, we've got something that's out there that is playing on the channel. So find your space, right? We'd love for you to join us, Dwain Woode MD Live on Monday, because that really sets the tone for the rest of the week. Join our community. I do a community shout out on Sunday mornings, usually Sunday mornings, where I talk to our community and let them know, give them some motivation to get into the week. Join the community. There should be a button down there somewhere if you're on YouTube. Join us. Be a part of that. Be a part of the we educate, we empower, we encourage. Be a part of that. And I see Cornelius, he said to all, let's see, what did she say? Let me put that up. Actually, let me read it first. Okay, I keep, yeah, there we go. There you go, Cornelius. He said, yeah, yes. So this is the week. This is the week. If you've been dabbling, if you've been, okay, I'm not sure about this fasting thing. I'm not sure about this metabolism thing. Come on in, join us. Jump in and spend some time here and see the successes that you can get as we're moving through this space. All right. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you've joined us. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives, which says that we're not allowing anything to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans. We're pushing through the obstacles. We're breaking out of the constraints. We are getting beyond the borders and the boundaries that have been confining us, and we are showing up and we're doing what we need to do for our health. Thank you for being here. Have a good one. We'll see you at our next show. Bye-bye, everybody.